Hello everyone, I'm Ashkan Tashveer, the founder and CEO of InGenesis. I'm going to touch on our vision very shortly, and then Arya is going to take you through what InGenesis is all about. It's so great to see so many of you, especially young people, come to use your talent to solve human beings' problems. I'm not pretty sure if you consider yourself entrepreneur or not, but I'm pretty sure that there is a great deal of entrepreneurial spirit here. We are living in a world that some world leaders, they make decisions out of scarcity. They think that resources are limited, and they wage wars as if resources are limited and we need to fight for it. And at the same time, we have leaders like Elon Musk who believe that we can create things from scratch and be resourceful and tackle human beings' problems. So we believe at InGenesis, we strongly believe in the power of entrepreneurship. We believe that entrepreneurship is uniquely positioned to solve human beings' problems. We believe that we cannot fight darkness with more darkness, and we believe that we need to bring light to it. And that's exactly why you being here, advancing technology in science, is quite inspiring. I know that it's cliché, but it's cliché because it's true. The future is in our hand. We are here to build the future. And that's exactly why InGenesis exists. We support startups, we support teams, entrepreneurs to create that future. We are living in a world that majority of people are acting as hunters. They see opportunities, they seek opportunities, and they want to hunt it. Long time ago, we realized that that's not a very sustainable model. We need to farm. We need to plant the seed, and we need to water it. And hopefully, we're going to have some fruit. That's the mentality of InGenesis. So if you have created your company and you want to scale it, if you are in the middle of architecting your company, or if you are even at the very early stages, ideation stage, come and talk to me and Arya, and we see if we can create opportunities to work with you and support you. So I would like to hand it over to Arya, the head of InGenesis Ventures. He's going to tell us more about what InGenesis does and how we do it. Thank you very much.
So before we jump in, can I just get a raise of hands? So who has already completed their degree? Some people in here. And who is like smack bang in the middle of theirs? Right. And then everyone else? Where are you from?
Final year.
Final year. Okay, excellent. And who of you are looking to be working in a startup or an innovative environment when they get out of uni? Fantastic, about half. And who may choose to just create their own thing when they leave? Okay, awesome, awesome. So I'm sure you're right in the middle of that. So I lead the portfolio of ventures at InGenesis, and I'm going to go through a bit of our philosophy, how we do things, because you know what, I was sitting there, and what excites me is that the future is uncertain. So we don't know in this room that there's someone here who could create the next Australian, Yellowfin, SAS, Microsoft, InGenesis. We don't know that. And our goal at InGenesis is to work with people so they can take things from scratch and build them into great companies. What we're doing here at this hackathon is we're bringing great minds together and solving the world's problems. One person I love the ethos of is Peter Diamandis. This is a man who is the founder of X Prize, where they gather multiple $10 million prizes solving some of the most challenging problems of humanity, and they get people to go for solving that problem. And he says this, 150,000 years ago was when our brains actually were built to deal with local and linear problems, right? Tigers in the woods, hunting fish, right? And here we are in an age where that is completely irrelevant, right? We've got a global scale. You can pick up your phone and you're talking to people globally, yeah? And you are talking about exponential computing. I think Dr. Ammon was talking about how these days, if you tried to compute everything on a single computer, we would never get anything done. And the amazing capabilities of cloud computing, we can do so much. And what I realized was that day to day we go about our lives not actually being present to the opportunity that's in front of us. So from 1900 to 2000, have a think for a second about what we've actually gone through. So we had a time where we did not have computers, and computers came into existence, right? We had a time where we had no cars, and the Ford T model came into existence. But what actually happened from 2000 to the year 2016 was the same amount of innovation as we saw in that century alone. So we had the iPhone, and the uptake of mobile, a whole supercomputer in your pocket, come to take shape. And I think I see it as modern day telepathy. What do I mean? If you have a thought and you want to transport that thought to the other side of the world today, you use WhatsApp, right? The thought can go, 1 million kilometers, and it can get there so quickly. So here we are, we're in this age of ridiculous opportunity, and I believe that it is our brains which we actually need to think bigger to take advantage of the opportunity that you and I are dealing with today. Now, we work in startups, and it's an area I completely love because we are talking about going from 0 to 1. It's pure creation in itself, working to serve humanity. And it's quite clear to see, so this is venture capital that goes into helping startups grow. We are, in Australia and in many parts across the world, there are more and more people going into technology ventures. Why? Because they're in an age where at 22 years old, we know the guy who became a millionaire. By 23-year-old, he became a billionaire, and now serves billions of people on his platform, right? So in the same time frame that you and I would complete the university degree and start looking for a job, billion-dollar companies are being created. And I believe that it's a huge disruption to how we are thinking about our careers, how we are thinking about defining our futures for ourselves and for others. So we're in a very interesting time. But there's an issue. So it turns out, so this is from a Harvard lecturer, Shikhar Ghosh, and he found out that of the 2% of startups that actually get funded, right? So there you are. You've come up with an extraordinary idea. You've finished your hackathon, and you've come up with, hey, let's turn this into a business. You've gone to investors and you said, hey, will you tip some money in and help us get this off the ground? And they said, fantastic, let's do it. Of those companies, 75% of them fail outright. And the current statistics in the venture capital industry is that 30% of them are only the ones giving above 10% return, right? Which is better than property and other traditional forms. So at InGenesis, we started looking at this. We found that this is very interesting because if we continue this model, then there's something not working. Why? The A plus B equals C formula that we traditionally are working in when we are building new companies with people like you has been capital, the money, plus the founders equals a high growth company. Yeah? Here's the money, let's give it to these people and let's create a high growth company. But what has happened in recent times is even VCs themselves, so this is the founder of Airtree Ventures, says that he's starting to ask, what can we add over and above capital? Because as we know, if you just tip in some extra cash into a team, there are so many other things, so many other pitfalls that can go wrong. And this leads to a quite dysfunctional model and understanding about how we build startups. So what is a potential solution? So the potential solution is that what are these other things that we can look at? Well, instead of just having capital and the founders, we start looking at, okay, how about the technology? So it turns out that 62% of software projects fail. And I know that just sounds like a statistic, but consider that here we are, we've paid for 10 houses to be built. And at the end of the day, only 4 houses make it, right? There would be uproar in the streets and people would be like banging on the door saying, where's my money? But that's currently what's happening when we go and build a software product, yeah? So inside of this, what can we do about that, right? And that's one thing that we looked at. Secondly, human capital. So when I've had experience in my own startups in the past where there we were, we hired the most expensive people we could get. They all put in their applications. We sat with them and we said, can you build this product? And they said, yes, I can do it. And then we get the next A-lister, right? And we said, okay, looks like you have an extraordinary degree and you've gone very well in the past. Great, will you come and join our team? Fantastic. And there we had 5 people in a core A-class team ready to go. Number one, obviously high cash burn, so paying out of our pockets, trying to get them off the ground. 3 months later, I turn around and I go, how are we going? Oh, we are still working out our systems, how to work with each other. They were still working out how do they communicate with each other and whose processes to use. So there's a big myth out there for the startup world. If you're there creating your new company, there's something valuable about what is happening here, is that you're in there creating teams and building relationships with one another, and that's very important if you're out to build something that's going to have some global impact. So human capital is super important. And then there's one of market traction. So there I was sitting with a founder and he said to me, wow, we've been working for 2 years. We put in 200,000 of our own and our family and friends' money, and here we are, and we launched it. And I have one question for you. And I said, okay, go ahead. He goes, how do I get my first customer? And I thought that's something you maybe should have asked a little bit before this point. And then there I was 3 weeks later. And same exact story. But the person said to me, we just put in 500K of our own capital. We just built our product. How do we find our first customer? And we realized that there was a lot of misinformation out there for tech entrepreneurs today building these startups. And that's where market traction is a vital component of what we're doing, right? So in this new model, this is called the venture building model. The idea is that, who's heard of a serial entrepreneur before? Yeah? So a serial entrepreneur is someone who builds multiple companies one after the other, right? So they get the team together, they get the idea together, they build the product, they take it to market, and then eventually they exit. And then they sit there and then they think, oh, I'd like to do that again. So they go build a team, and then they go build a product, they take it to market, and then they sell it. And then they go, oh, that felt good, I want to do that again. Most serial entrepreneurs know that it's something between 7 to 10 years commitment to put all of that together, and they understand the huge risk involved each time they do it. So a number of these smart entrepreneurs caught on. and they started working in a model called parallel entrepreneurship or venture building, which is exactly what InGenesis is. And we're one of 3 venture builders in Australia. There's about 150 worldwide, right? And what it is we thought, well, hold on a second, why should we go and build that tech team over and over and over again? Why don't we have it once and build multiple companies in succession, right? Why would we have the human capital, the building of the teams, the processes and the systems? Why go and start those from scratch every time? Let's build it once as an engine and have multiple ideas and problems being solved for humanity coming from the same engine. And same with market traction. So if we know how to get a product out there at a high speed, at a very at scale way, why don't we have that work across multiple products and solutions? So my job at InGenesis is finding founders like yourselves to work with who have the vision, who have the grit, the attitude and the work ethic, but then coming in, plugging in, supercharging you with a whole team of resources and allowing you to scale that idea much faster than you could by yourself. And so some of the people in our venture portfolio, we have everything from blockchain, data companies, hospitality, and so on. So as Ashkan said, if you are interested in this, please come and see us in the break. So what can be said of these models? So the Dollar Shave Club is a company that was through Science Inc., which is a US-based venture builder, was built up and sold for $1 billion to Unilever. And it's a huge testament to the model, which is relatively quite new. So let me take an opportunity to share with you what it may be like if you're a startup founder or you're looking to work in a startup team, and what we do with entrepreneurs to go through this process. So we first work in the ideation phase and we make sure people have their passion. Why? Because everything in the universe, if you leave it to its own nature, will go towards chaos, correct? So it takes a huge amount of energy from any entrepreneur to bring together something and turn it into something in the world. And unless you are driven by something like passion, you're getting up every day and you're thinking about that problem and you have that energy which is much larger than yourself, then it's a very high chance that the first or second obstacle that comes up will take you out of the game, right? Secondly is the market demand. So we discover very early on, I mentioned that we sit with founders and they tell us that they built a product and there's no one there to purchase it. We make sure that all of the startups, the InGenesis startups we work with, have validated some level of market demand before they go ahead. And we find out that they have what we call a scalable seed. Can this company actually go to be a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar valuation company? Can it actually go and have that scale at a world class? Or are they actually planting a little rock in the ground, right? And putting all of this energy into watering it day after day, and they're actually going to hit a limit at some point. So once we do that, we jump into the venture design phase. We now know that this has the DNA to become something at scale. And then we start building the product design, the prototype, to know that this is the thing that we are going to build. And secondly, we define the market opportunity clearly. And this is where typically we start, if the founding team needs, introducing them to our investor network, especially angel investors at that stage, before jumping into the build and launch phase where we build the first scalable version with them of their product. So, let's go here. So overall, through our accelerator program, which is at the beginning stage, we offer up to $125,000 worth of services at this critical point of the startup's emerging stages. We understand how difficult it is at this beginning stage because you're literally trying to do the impossible. Who's heard of the term bootstrapping? Yeah. So a bootstrapped entrepreneur is someone who is trying to use their own funds or their revenue to get off the ground. It actually comes from the boots, where you have a strap on the back and you're trying to lift yourself up from your own bootstraps. In other words, an impossible physical feat, right? So we understand, because we've been there before, how difficult it is to get from this 0 to usually the 7 figures, yeah? And that's why we offer this, it's an exchange for equity, grant, so they can move through this very challenging stage. Finally, we work with people in the scale stage. Our team of 67 software engineers that make up our shared resource pool, we work with softwares from 0 to 2 million hits per day. And we find that this is a very other missed pitfall that a lot of startup entrepreneurs make, because they go and build something that seems like it works on the outside, but the moment you put a lot of demand through it and a lot of hits, then it falls to pieces. And we've literally worked with quite sophisticated, well-funded startups who are band-aiding things together, and it's seriously affected the ability of that startup to scale. Fantastic. So outside of that, we do this whole process. I mean, you may be in your seat going, well, I'm not going to be working with a startup, or I'm working in a small or medium organization or a corporate. Well, we believe that, as Ashkan said, our CEO, that whether you're an entrepreneur yourself, the entrepreneurial spirit is something that is being spread across corporates, because they are knowing that their models need to change. And SMEs who are seeing the pain points in the industry, and they know what's happening next, but they don't know how to translate that into at-scale softwares and products. So we work with all of these different arms to bring together an ecosystem to support early-stage startups and business leaders creating new, innovative products that are leading into the future. Finally, our network of investors, we have very close relationships to, and we introduce them at the right time. One thing that they get a benefit from, so some startups who work with us get the funding on our end, and then they're able to fundraise, the other parts, which is a big relief for them. Fantastic. So I read an article the other day that although in the startup world it's often reiterated that we should drop out of uni and we should go and all do our startups, it actually turns out that the majority of successful startups are from people who went through tertiary education. So I definitely wouldn't rule anyone out. If you have any questions, please come and find us in the break. But you can also go to our website, engenesis.com/funding, which would bring you straight through if you're interested in turning even what you did here into a product and a startup. And outside of that, please find us on LinkedIn or Facebook, and we hope to connect with you more in the community, and hopefully what you guys are out to do here, and that it can be a seed for the future. Thank you so much.